Hello everyone, so I'm starting a challenge. The first challenge that I've decided to start is a season's getaway. I find if you're in The Sims like me, you'll know that there's not a ton of getaway vacation rentals. And so I figured with Newcrest being so bare that we could add some vacation rentals into there and make it festive and seasonal. So the first one I'm starting with is the autumn getaway. I'm thinking like cozy fall cabin vibes. So as you can see here, I'm just getting the cabin kind of started. It's going to be a very simple log cabin. I'm trying to work on doing a deck here. And this is the first time I've kind of played with this style of housing. Not so much cabins, but just the way that I designed this cabin. As you can see, it's kind of taking me a while to match the wood grain to the stairs. And as we're going through this, you'll see me trying a bunch of different color swatches just to see what matches nice. I don't know if it's just me, but I tend to build my shells as rooms and rooms, and then I'll take out the walls, so that's one big floor plan, and then I'll go in and add the walls. Another thing I've been trying to explore more is roofs. If anybody has roofing tips, that would be amazing because I'm just dipping my toes into roofs. And I think for the most part, like I'm doing okay. I haven't really done anything extreme yet. So I want this to be a very cabin feel. That being said, I thought the moss would be perfect because it's really giving that autumnal cabin, mossy green forest. And then here you'll see I'm just adjusting the roof, adding on that trim. I was kind of working from a reference image. That being said, the reference image was a very loose inspiration. I basically just used the shape of the house as the inspiration. But I knew I wanted it to be warm tones, mossy forest, cozy getaway. So as you can see, I'm just moving the lot back, just making it a little more centered in the lot. Also, I'm sure you can tell, but this is my first time making a YouTube video, and I figured this would be a good idea having the 4 seasons, because then you already have 4 ideas to what you want to upload. And I'm still getting to know the building, so I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with building. I've just started uploading some creations onto my gallery, which is a first for me. I've never uploaded on the gallery before. Another thing I do, and I don't know if it's anybody else, but I will build my shell and then I'll put in all the windows and the doors and I'll be set on it. And then when I go in to build, I'll add up the walls and make the rooms, and then I end up having to change the windows because they don't match the rooms. So you'll see me put in the windows. I really wanted them to look close together, just so they looked like very cohesive. And then by the time that I started adding in rooms, I'm pretty sure I ended up like tweaking every single one of these windows. So as you can see, I'm just having the BB dot move objects on, and I'm making sure that the windows are just touching so that they look more neat. I really like the look of a seamless wall with windows. I think in a cabin that was very nice. I really wanted to touch on that natural light and that cozy lighting. I'm also a huge fan of yellow lights. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Yellow lights versus LED lights, because I am still a yellow light girl through and through. I just a house is not cozy in an LED light. That might be controversial. So as you can see, this is where I'm placing the windows where I think that they look nice on the exterior, and I'm sure they do. But once the rooms are made in, it just doesn't work with the floor plan. You'll actually see I tend to add in this video a back deck, and so a lot of these windows had to be moved around in order for the entrance to the back deck. And I couldn't decide between the longer windows or the smaller windows, and I think I ended up choosing a lot of the smaller windows. I did notice I needed to bring them down a little bit just for them to look right. Sometimes I find that they sit a little too high on the walls and it just doesn't look right to me. So these are just the little touches I go through, and I'm save your game. So many projects lost to not saving. I have to constantly tell myself in between, like, save your game. My partner also, he will tell me all the time, he's like, did you save your game? In between me playing. And it has saved so many save files. So I really like these columns on the exterior. This is where the little back deck is gonna go. And I think the columns are just perfect. They really add to that cozy, warm cabin. Just trying to find some natural looking exterior flooring for the back deck. A lot of the times I'll use the square terrain tool, and if I want it to be like a back deck, I'll make it very sharp edged. But I do go in with some dirt and I just go around the edges to like make it look more natural. I'll adjust the softness and make it very soft, just so it looks natural. Some pieces, will be darker and heavier, and then I like to go around the house too, because that's just more natural to look like the grass is wearing, and high traffic areas, has the house sitting on it, the foundation digging into the ground. It just gives a little bit more of a realism. I also will max out the size, and I'll adjust the softness to the softest it can go, and I'll go over the whole lot just so the grass looks more realistic. And I found that has helped my builds realism so much. So I've made that a very common practice in my builds lately. So far I have 3 builds up on my gallery. I have the autumn getaway I filmed for the summer getaway, and then my first upload is actually a tattoo loft that I did. So it's a home business loft with the tattoo parlor downstairs and the living residence upstairs. I worked really hard on that. That was the first build I worked pretty hard on. I was proud of it. Well, that's not true. Actually, when I started playing The Sims, I started in Sims 1. And I did not build. Couldn't stand it. My Sims 1 builds were all squares and they were all massive. And it took them, 3 Sims hours to walk from one side of the house to the other. And then Sims 2, loved. Sims 3, I couldn't really get into. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was the controls or like the gameplay was different. But I found it really hard to get into Sims 3. And when Sims 4 came out, I fell in love. I was like, Sims 4 is perfect. It's the, updated Sims 2. And that's really what I wanted. Sims 2 was my favorite. And then Sims 4 came with like better stuff. I was thrilled. And even in the beginning when I played Sims 4, when it first came out, I still wouldn't build. I used a lot of the EA homes, like already built in. I, sometimes would use things off the gallery. I'll be honest, I didn't really understand the gallery or anything when I started playing The Sims 4. So I didn't use anything from the gallery. I didn't upload anything to the gallery. I just played to play. I love The Sims. I've always loved playing it. And so when I started to kind of explore the gallery and use things from the gallery, I was never a builder. Never a builder in The Sims. I like the gameplay more, and I started getting into just decorating the homes. I loved decorating the homes. And so I would start with, shells, and I'd clear the shells and then I would decorate them. And that was enough because I couldn't build the shells. I really struggled. I'm just going to pause right here. The campfire cozy wicker. Oh, just lovely. I thought that was a perfect touch for this deck. Okay, I was really struggling with the door height here. I don't know why. Because I'm in the short doors. You can even see I'm checking. I'm in the short doors. My wall is short. Like, I don't know what was happening, but I could not find a door that made sense there. And then I realized once I was playing around with adding the deck that the floor, I ended up raising the floor inside the house. And so the front bedroom there was low to the ground and the kitchen and living room was extremely high. And so I'm raising it, lowering it. It's just not working. I do find a door that works eventually, but yeah, there was a little bit of a hiccup there. Back to my story. So what I was saying is I really wasn't a builder. Wasn't about it. Fell in love with decorating. And that kind of started my transition into trying some builds. And of course they weren't great. And, I'm still learning. I'm still learning today. And then I just started to kind of try a little bit more with my building, and then try a little bit more. And then I was starting to use foundations, and I was starting to use stairs, and I was starting to use lofts, and I was doing A-frames, and I really just kind of branched out with my building. And now I would say I'm still learning for sure, but I'm getting there. Like, I'm starting to explore more and become more confident in my builds. So here you can see I'm just trying to find that perfect cabin door. I really wanted it to be wood, but I am very impartial to the gold knobs. And I think the problem is I'm trying to find gold knobs. And so I just settled on this door. Saving again so I don't lose my progress. And then I decide on this one ultimately for the gold knobs, 100%. And I started experimenting with half walls and stuff. Okay, I'll admit, I just started using the change directional on the flooring. And so I've really been using that tool a lot too. As you can see, I've just used it here. So I wanted this to be wood. Cozy cabin wood. Actually, we just over the summer stayed at a cabin and the bathroom was all stone. Stone floors, stone walls, stone shower. Like, it was seamless, all stone. And that was really my inspiration for the bathroom here, because I just loved it. I thought it felt very spa, natural. So that's why I added into the stone floors in the bathroom. And then the wood cabin to match the outside, obviously, because it's going to be a full wood cabin. I also have not been experimenting with the ceiling paint as much as I should be. And I already uploaded the cabin to the gallery, and I had already filmed the video. So my apologies, there is no ceiling paint in this build. But in my summer one, there is. And I'll try to remember to put it in all my other ones. I'm just still trying to remember that because, again, I wasn't much of a builder. So here I'm trying to find the perfect cozy camper cabin table without being too wood on wood. Because I figured if I used a nice wood cabin table, then it was just going to be too much wood. I wanted to throw in some color. So my idea with this was the green table to pull from the green on the cushions of the chairs. Something I loved about this was I put in a beautiful chandelier above that, very fitting for the cabin. And here I'm just using the saucer lights. And it's funny because when I was making this video, everyone hates on the large saucer lights, but I use them all the time because if I use the small saucer lights, I can never click on them in gameplay because they're so small I can't find them. And so having the big saucer lights, I can find them, but I was noticing once someone else had to view my screen and view the build that I was building, I realized, oh yeah, those big saucer lights really get in the way of the view. So maybe that's something I'll work on, is using the little saucer lights when filming. I'm just trying to find a very cabin-esque bed, double twins, and then it can be a family getaway vacation. I thought I was sold on this because I loved the print on the bed frames. I loved the print on the bed frames, so I thought I was sold on this. But I wasn't sold on the bedding. It just didn't scream cabin getaway for me. So I ended up getting rid of those ones, and I used this one because it just seemed very cabin. And I like that it came in the same material in different colors. That just made sense to me. Like if this was a rental, you would have the same bedding but in different colors in a children's room, especially with the double beds. I just wanted something fun to show that there was, games and toys in the rental for the children that were staying with them. I ultimately decided on this combo that clicks together. It just made sense. It matched with the colors of the bed frame. Gives extra storage for when you're staying there. Not that that matters in gameplay, but this is what was running through my head while I was building. I love to use big plants, size them down, and then put them up with the 9 key and use them on. So you can see I'm just putting in the bb.move objects cheat and getting that plant up there. For some reason my 9 key wasn't working very well, and I could not for the life of me get it to move up. So scrapped that idea and I went with the old trusty. You will learn very soon that that plant is in all of my builds. I love that plant. I thought it'd be cute, add a little lantern, because after all, this is a cabin getaway. I want it to be very simple, very minimalist. But of course having some activities for them. The camper guide, how cute. That was meant to be in the cabin, let's be real. And then I thought this traveling trunk would be so fun. It has the travel stickers, it's an old-timey trunk, and then I picture it having like board games in it and just really getting the children to connect to the cabin and to nature and not using technology or anything. Okay, so here was my image here. I was trying to do a built-in bookshelf, making it look like it was built in to the cabin walls, but it was clipping and coming out the side, so it just really didn't work. Here I am just trying to fit everything in there and still have a walkway, but I think it worked out well. Just gonna add some little cushions for seating, again just making it very cozy, having a little reading nook. Imagine it's raining, you're at the cabin, you're playing board games with your sibling, How fun. You're sitting on pillows. Just really getting it real cozy in there. And then next I'm doing the rugs. So for the rugs, I had a vision. Tattered, but still nice. Like, you might get it dirty with your shoes because you were out playing in the mud all day in the cabin, exploring the forest. And therefore, you have a rug that's a little tattered, little worn, because remember, it's a rental. Lots of people coming through. So that was my vision there. And then I just tied in the mint of the rug to the mint in the bedspread. I wanted to have fun, maybe not so much fun, but like very realistic cabin curtains. So I put these ones in just so that, you know, it's realistic. You throw up a little tarp, you're in a cabin, you know? It's not the Hilton 5 stars. And that's what we love about it. And so also, when else are you going to use the tarp curtains? Not really anywhere else. It just made sense. I'm trying to explore more with curtains. I know a lot of simmers like use the one curtain and then use the banisters as the rest of the rod. I love how it looks. I just honestly have never done it in my game or figured out really how to do it. I wanted most of the curtains to be pretty consistent. Just, you know, wood blinds made sense for a cabin. And the tarp. So I pulled in that green again with the curtains here. So we have the green table pulling in the green with the cushions, and the green with the cushions pulling in the green curtains. I needed a rug here, and I just couldn't decide what looked right. And then I realized, I was like, this is a family getaway. There might be infants and toddlers. And then my mind just instantly went to, oh my goodness, that carpet under there is going to be so dirty. But again, doesn't really have to do with gameplay. That's just where my mind went. I love organic shaped carpets. I'm getting really into using them. I wish there was more options in The Sims though. I want organic carpets, but with solid colors. That would be ideal. I'm trying to pull some fun colors. I've also been experimenting with layering rugs. It's okay. I think just only certain rugs look right. So ultimately I've decided with just a fun little plain rug, I think it just pulls it all together nicely. This is where I love what I did here. The old lantern chandelier. Stunning. I'm pretty sure I put them in all the rooms because it just made sense. Oh, I would love that. If I came to a cabin getaway and I saw that, would love it. I really like how it tied together. Again, the green, but the rust just really did something. So cozy. And how fun. Like, that will set you apart in your rental. That's what I was going for. So I wanted a very cabin kitchen. I'm thinking wood cupboards, old styles. The curtain really grabbed my attention here and just made sense. As you can see, I'm trying different cupboards and cabinets to see what looks right. I wanted to go with a pop of color, and I'm just testing out some different theories here. Kitchen layouts seem to be a little bit of a struggle I have as well. So I feel like I'm doing a lot of the same layouts, and when I try to experiment with my layouts, they just don't work. Like, they don't clip together properly, they don't function properly, or they just don't look well. And I feel like there's so just so many ways you can explore with kitchen layouts, and for some reason mine is very limited, so I don't know. So I ended up going with the kind of green. Again, trying to pull those green colors into the kitchen. Okay, the fridges for me are a little interesting, drive me a little crazy, because I find every fridge in The Sims has a smidge gap between the fridge and the counter. If that could change, that would be great. I've been very impartial to having windows behind the counters in kitchens and having the sink there so you can look out, or so your prep counter is while you're looking out in the beautiful forest. Come on, tell me that's not stunning. So here I'm trying to mix and match. I've been really into mixing and matching my cabinetry. And it's turned out well, because a lot of the swatches, they do match. A lot of the colors go really well together. I do like that. So I'm going over top of the first half of the windows here. I like to do that just so it looks like a more built-in window look. Something just didn't feel right. I was playing around with these cabinets for quite a while, and then I end up settling on something and it completely changes because of the entrance to the back gate, or to the back deck. So again, I'm trying to mix and match. I like this dark wood swatch. However, I don't like when there's items automatically put onto these and they're the same. I don't want to have 6 rows of cupboards that all have the same wine bottle in it, you know? I love these old sinks. But do you see that? The sink at the window, and then you can look out into the backyard. You know, if you have children there, your children are playing, the dog's running around. Like, I think that would just be ideal. Like, you'd be happy to cook in a kitchen where you're staring at the mountains and the forest. So see, here I am trying to play around with a different kind of island setup. But again, it just didn't look right to me. You know, looking back at the video, I don't mind the circle island, actually. I probably could have went with it, but in the moment, I wasn't sold. I thought it looked really weird. And now seeing, it doesn't look that weird. It's actually quite nice. So maybe I regret that. Maybe I should have kept the circle island. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. And then again, I'm trying to just like play around with it. I can't seem to get a good island out of this. This is where like I'm still learning. Like, you see the gaps and stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. I really don't get how the islands clip together and then you have spaces in between, and then I have cupboards facing the inside of the cabinet, then it was getting too big, and then it's clipping. It just didn't make sense. So yeah, you can see I'm trying a different styles here. I wanted it to be a different island than just your average island. That's what I was going for, because I feel like that could be a huge selling point to this rental. Be like, look at this beautiful island for your family gatherings. I just couldn't figure it out. Like, everything just felt so close together. So here I am just kind of trying to center it so that it isn't in the middle of the way. Ultimately, I just had to go with the square. Or the rectangle. It just made sense to go with the rectangle. I really wanted a full cabinetry with all the dishes and stuff. I thought that pulled the rental together a lot. As you can see, the light's just getting in the way of that large saucer. A bread box. Cute selling point. None of them just kind of fit right with the kitchen though, and I think it's because it's that like teal green kitchen color. So it didn't feel right to have the bread box. I figure you're having fun. You need a dish rack. Let your dishes sit. Go enjoy the outdoors. Come back for them later. I love this tin. I use it all the time. And it looked very good in the cabin. Maybe the host provides it for you when you want to take a hike in the trails. The country utensils makes a lot of sense. I thought sunflowers, very happy, very welcoming, very autumnal. And I just picture like the host leaving them for you when you check in. And I thought that would be a nice touch. I love these kitchen mats. I have one in my house and they're memory foam. They're amazing. So now I'm just trying to find a bar stool that makes sense. I find it's hard to match bar stools. Sometimes they're very modern, and this isn't a modern kitchen. Sometimes they have colors that just don't match. And then you'll find a color of a cushion that matches really well, but then the wood won't match. And it's funny because I was thinking that as I was building this cabin as well, and I was like, the woods just aren't matching up. Like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm not using the same wood everywhere. And so I have like kind of like a cherry oak in the dining area. And then I have a dark walnut in the kitchen. And then the whole cabin is a dark wood. And then I'm pretty sure I end up using a different wood in the primary bedroom. And unfortunately that was just something I had to live with. I love these for the kitchen. The curtains for the kitchen, they worked really well. A nice simple curtain. And then when I add in that back deck, you'll see that I completely changed half of the kitchen anyways. This area looked bare. It needed something. I love a decorative step stool. Of course it can be used, and it is a rental, and it's a family-friendly rental. So maybe the children need the stool. But a decorative stool just ties the Sims kitchens together. I use it in a lot of my builds. And then I'm just testing, playing around here because I felt it needed something. I loved this shelf. But like I said, later on I end up changing it around. But it just made sense there. And it would be something you'd find in a rental as well. This coat hook from Horse Ranch, perfect. What do you mean? You're hiking. You have the apparel. You have the water canteen. I've also been obsessed with using that since I've gotten Horse Ranch. It's just the most aesthetically pleasing coat hook that we have in The Sims right now. At least that I have. I don't own all the packs. I've been trying to get more and more as I go. I'm just trying to find some decor here that fits the cabin aesthetic. And then I noticed once I was going with country living and Horse Ranch and the like farmland one, it was just very hard to find what I was looking for. So I was like, no, scratch that. I just have to look through each one. Because sometimes you'll find a really good piece and it's not categorized as you think it would be. Oh, and when I found the hack of the no shoe sign in homes, so you might not know, but I'm from Canada and we don't wear our shoes in the house. And so ever since I found out about the no shoes in the house sign, constantly, every single one of my builds, it was always such a pet peeve of mine that the Sims wore their shoes in the house. So when I found out that, it's in every single one of my builds. And I usually make it smaller. So I guess if you like the shoes on in the house and you download one of my builds, which would be really amazing, you'll have to take that shoe sign off if you don't like it. And you'll have to find it. It's usually by the front door. I always put it by the front door and I make it really small so I can't see it. But I love that they just come in and they're like, yep, shoes off, we're in the house. So, love that. So as you can see, I was just kind of looking through here because I realized, oh yeah, I gotta make it a vacation rental. It's funny because yeah, you'll see I was looking at the vacation rental and then I went to the residential rental and I was like, oh yeah, it's a vacation. I'm just choosing my lot traits here. So I think the great acoustics is a good one. And I want it to be very homey. I want you to work on, you know, the skills that you want. I want you to relax. I want it to be a peaceful place for, you know, kind of exploring your skills and everything. And then sunny, because it just made sense. You want it to be warm, cozy. You want everyone to be happy because everyone's happy on vacation, right? So I really want a cozy couch, but a cozy, nice looking couch. Because there's home cozy couch and then there's cozy rental couch. And to me, this was a cozy rental couch. Kind of like a viral aesthetic, but still cozy. And then I really wanted to find a cozy chair to go with it. I'm not huge on making symmetrical chairs. I wanted to try it because I wanted the house to be very staged. It just didn't make sense to me though. My living rooms are usually quite asymmetrical. And again, I'm just trying to find those cozy colors, cozy chairs. And then I figured why not just go with the same material as a couch. It made sense. I actually think I did end up using the dual chairs, which is not like me. But again, remember, the floor plan's going to change a lot because I end up adding that back entrance to the back deck. I've also been taking advantage of the Sims 3 camera freeze spin of the objects, and I've been trying to use that a lot. But a lot of the time you'll see that I'm spinning my object while I'm in the Sims 3 camera, and then I'll go to move, and I forget how the Sims 3 camera works, so then it will like shoot me to the other side. And then I realize, oh no, I need to go back to the Sims 4 camera. Because that is definitely what I've learned on. And so sometimes it will just like move my camera rapidly because I'm still in the Sims 3 camera and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I just think like a simple kind of IKEA table is really what I was going for. Nothing fancy because you wouldn't want it broken. And also it's a cabin. But the wheels were really just not sitting right with me. I don't know. So I was playing around with that. The wheels were throwing me off. I thought maybe adding in some color, but I thought that would be a little much for a cabin. Like, we're not going color pop, you know? And again, so here you see the light wood in the living room, the dark wood in the kitchen, and then the cherry wood in the dining room. I thought the books would be a nice touch for a rental. And then I could go back into that kind of dark wood. was really struggling to find if I wanted it again to be all dark wood, because then I found it was really matching with the walls and the floors of the cabin. An old, small TV. You're in the woods. There's better things to do than watch TV, but sometimes it rains and sometimes it's at night and you want to watch a little movie that they provide you. A scary movie in the woods. Have fun. I really wanted people to tap into their creative side while they stayed at this retreat or rental. So I put a lot of creative skill building items. I always mix up this guitar with the other guitar, and I just like the other guitar more. This one's a little bit crazy patterns and stuff. And so I was trying to figure out, I was like, I don't remember the guitar looking like this. And then I found the guitar that I was kind of looking for. I thought it's cute with the cabin theme. It has the little stickers on it. And again, very family friendly rental. So we are adding in some fun activities outside for the children. This is also, as I was putting these activities out, I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot to put an entrance for the back deck. So then you'll see me kind of go through and change everything. I just thought it would be fun to have some of these activities outside. Just really making it a fun escape for the whole family. And then I play around with the terrain because I really enjoyed having this hopscotch. I didn't realize that there was such a long one. I don't think I've ever used it. To be fair, I've only used the hopscotch in minimal builds, but that's just a little nice area. I actually do end up also adding a sitting area out here and a little outdoor eating area. So again, I'm putting in that terrain paint just to make it look realistic. So obviously these paths with the really heavy dirt terrain, that would be your active walking paths. And then around the gravel and stuff, obviously you would have dirt. So I will go in and I'll touch up and I'll kind of make it splotchy so it looks more natural. And then, of course, I accidentally erased some of the pathway. So just adding that in again. Adding those outdoor activities for the children. I've never actually played with the water balloon bin, so I don't actually know the animation style that comes with it. I thought just having a little AC would be nice. Just because sometimes they have those in the cabins. And in the summer, I mean, you'd want it. But an older fashioned one, not like a brand new one. Also, I didn't realize that the ACs, when you put them in, they actually create a vent animation on the inside of your property. So I had to learn that. And then I was like, oh, I might need to move some things around because it's on top of the vent. The wind chimes I thought were a great touch for the cabin. It just makes sense. I figure providing bicycles, like an older, kind of just bicycles they had laying around that they no longer use, they keep at the cabin for people. That would be fun. Use it to ride around the forest, to get into town, to get some ice cream at the ice cream shop. Like, how fun would that be? Again, not so much gameplay, but this is what I'm thinking as I'm building. And then horseshoes. Again, earlier when I was talking about the cabin that we stayed at, and it had the stone bathroom, it also had horseshoes. So much fun. Just a fun little activity to do in the outdoors while you're staying with them. And then again, very natural terrain, you know? You're picking up horseshoes, you're kicking up dirt, the horseshoes are flying everywhere, kicking up grass. So just to make it a little bit more realistic. And to have a lot of activities. again, for all ages of the people who will be staying here. So here I am just putting in a setting area out on the back deck. Still have not realized that I haven't put the back door in. I figured just some nice camping chairs here would make sense. Here I am like, oh, right, there's no entrance. Like, oh, geez. And here I am turning around. As you can see, the shelving is clipping with the AC vent because I didn't know about that. That filled up, that art piece just filled up that spot beautifully. I just needed that to move for now. I couldn't make it make sense. Because if I lined it up, it was really high. If I brought it down, it just didn't make sense. So it's like, whatever. Bring it to the other side. We gotta try something else. I think in the end I ended up just getting rid of it. I can't remember for sure though. So I had to move the kitchen around a little bit. I actually enjoy the way that the kitchen turned out better. I think the long cabinet made more sense on the other side. And just moving the activities over. Making room for that entrance I should have made room for earlier, but that's fine. And then I wanted to add in some stairs. So then I added just a mini little deck that comes off with the stairs. And it turned out perfectly, really. I made them double-sided stairs, and it looked great. I enjoyed them a lot. Just short little steps down. I think it did well for the frame of the house as well. So I'm happy about that. And here I am just adding the stairs in. Perfect. Adding them to the other side. And then I'll add in the railing and everything. There we go. I think that worked really well for the frame of the house. I think it makes sense. It fits the frame, it fits the style of the build. And I actually haven't done double-sided stairs really at all in The Sims. It's like, why haven't I done this? It was just kind of a thought I had, and I was like, that makes sense. So I wanted to have a lattice foundation. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to add it on though. Again, I'm learning. So I don't know why that didn't happen. I think I just ended up giving up on it. I tried a lot and I couldn't figure it out. So I don't know why that was happening, but if you guys know, that would be great. Let me know. Trying to advance my building skills. I wanted to go very cabin-esque with the stair railing. And I was like, oh, that doesn't really match. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not the one I used. And so then I used the matching horse ranch one. I'll have to make a base game build because I'm pretty bad with using things in different packs. And then I go to upload it to the gallery. And that's when you really find out how many packs you've used. And I just don't think that I was aware of how many packs I was using beforehand. I mean, to be fair, it didn't matter because I wasn't uploading anything to the gallery, so I didn't have to think about the packs that I was using. But now that I've started to upload to the gallery and then getting ready to post my first video on YouTube, I was like, oh my goodness, I use way too many packs. And I watch sim YouTubers and they're always talking about, oh, I'm sorry for using a pack, I'm sorry for this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm using way too many packs. But I can't help it. I like what I like, and unfortunately, they come in all of the different packs. But I will definitely start to be more mindful of that. And, you know, there's always alternatives as well. That if I use something in a pack you don't have, you can always replace it with something that you do have. So ultimately that's just, I don't know, that's my thoughts on that. But I definitely will do some base game uploads and stuff like that because I understand the packs are crazy and it's taken me a long time to build up the packs that I do have, and I'm still building them up. So I'm just adding some more of that dirt terrain, and here you'll see I'm adding in that very soft dirt because it looks more realistic. The land looks lived in and like it's been a vacation rental. People are running through the yard constantly, people are riding bikes, people are playing hopscotch, they're playing, horseshoes, they're having cookouts, there's just so much going on. So it would make sense that the yard is worn down. And just making a little outdoor eating area. I love this swing set. I love the color of the swing set. And then I really wanted that autumn leaves, autumn fall trees, just to pull in that autumnal getaway, because remember, this one is an autumnal getaway. And just adding in some foliage. I've learned from watching a lot of YouTubers and just playing around with The Sims is to use the same kind of foliage, rotate it, and use it in abundance around the lot instead of using multiple kinds of foliage. Just to kind of stick with the same couple and just cluttering them around has made it help to feel realistic, I guess. I also wish it was a little more realistic on the boundary edges of your lot to not just be like straight grass, that if you added in some of this foliage it would make sense, because then there's just foliage on my lot and then way in the distance. But we make do. I think it turned out well. I've also struggled a lot in my Sims playing with like landscaping and stuff, so I'm also still just getting comfortable with that. I wanted this to be a very natural, organic shape of like cobblestone, or not cobblestone, sorry. I wanted this to be a very natural, organic shape of like pebbles around the entrance and gravel, because that's kind of where you'd be entering the vacation rental. And then I figured people are using the stairs a lot, so they would kind of just have some like kicked up gravel there. Again, really trying to throw in those autumn colored trees. I have a hard time placing trees where it just makes sense, but I loved it being in the front of the cabin there. I thought that just looked perfect. And then imagine when the children are playing in their room and then seeing those autumn colored leaves coming down. Oh, stunning. And see, as you can see, as I'm building and it's getting more cozy and more foliage, that imagine just like sitting on the deck and having a fire. It's perfect. So here I am just duplicating and rotating some of that landscaping objects, like the bushes and stuff. Save. It's been a while since I saved. And that just makes it look more natural. And then I'm going back in to continue to work on the house and the interior. And I was like, I just felt like there needed to be something else in here. And then I thought, oh my gosh, of course, I should be making this a pet friendly. It's family friendly. It should be pet friendly. And you're in the forest. Of course your animals should come with you. Just adding in a pet bowl at the beginning there. Oh yeah, that prairie grass, I thought that would just make sense. And I forgot that it grows instantly, but I kept it. And just adding in the pet bowls over here. I wanted to do the mismatched colors because I thought that'd be really cute, but I didn't love that it had a bone on it, because who am I to say if you bring your dog or your cat to the cabin? I think you should bring either. In fact, when we went to our cabin, we brought our cat and he had the time of his life. I'm all about cats traveling. Dogs travel a lot, and so I think cats should experience that as well. And here I am just using that tarp curtain again, just because it really makes sense in the cabin, and I wanted it to feel very cabin-y. And again, using that rugged rug with a kind of worn down look, because again, it just makes sense in the cabin. You've trekked in the woods all day, you've been playing outside all day, there's a ton of traffic coming through, it's a rental. And the candles, again, setting that cozy, nice vibe. And then, like I was saying, I really want this to be a place of relaxation and creativity. So just adding some yoga mats, because I think that'd be really nice. Morning yoga, evening yoga on the deck. We have the stuff for the children. I think there needs to be some stuff for the adults as well. I thought it could be fun, like you and your sister doing yoga, you and your partner doing yoga, just a little duo yoga session out there. The little friendship bracelet. I have fun making friendship bracelets in the cabin while you're staying. What better things to do? Again, just a lot of creative activities. And the yarn basket. Maybe some past yarn projects were still in there. And I really wanted this easel because a lot of creativity was going to happen here. And it just made sense. Like under that tree. Oh, stunning. Imagine the forest behind you. It's really coming together at this point. I'm feeling very happy. I struggled with the primary bedroom. I just didn't know it made sense. I mean, minimalist but intentional. Because at the end of the day, it's a rental, so you wouldn't have anything crazy. But because of the size of the room, it was also a little bit difficult to just make it seem intentional and not cluttered or overwhelming. So just trying to find, again, a nice bedspread that really screams cabin. I think I did end up going with the cowhide bed because it made sense. I really like that, but then I felt like I was leaning towards too much green. Actually, I think I went with this one. Yeah. It screamed cabin to me. It was perfect. And again, remember how I talked about having those windows together and that whole panel of windows? Yeah, I ended up changing it because it didn't work for the layout of the house ultimately. So you'll see in most of my builds, that's how I build. I'll build this shell of how I think the shell should look, and then once I get to putting in the rooms and the layout, the windows change, the exterior changes. sometimes the size of the floor plan changes. And I just thought a very minimalist little primary bedroom. It just made sense. You wouldn't be spending a lot of time there. You'd be enjoying the outdoors. You'd be with your family. You'd be creating. I love this plant curtain rod. I just think it's a perfect touch. And it made sense for the cabin, you know? Indoor, outdoor living. I wanted it to be very natural. I also really love the hanging plant. I'm so glad that I got the hanging plant in The Sims because, again, I use it in a lot of my builds. And that just made sense to me. Like, imagine just a little mirror with your little foliage to the side. And again, the lantern, because perfect for this build. And I just thought the room needed a little something. Like, it would be weird if it was that bare. And so here I'm just trying to squeeze in some end tables. Because it just needs a little something. But I noticed we don't have a ton of narrow end tables. And the ones that are normally quite narrow in my builds, still we're taking up a lot of room in this tiny room. So I had to kind of play around with that. See what made sense. But also remembering that it needed to stay staged. So just playing around to see which ones work. I actually ended up really enjoying these kind of mid-sized bookshelves. It made sense for the build, it made sense for the bedroom, it made sense for the space. And they're quite staged. They're aesthetically staged. I tried to play around with mixing and matching because I thought that could kind of be cute. Like, it looked like it was curated and chosen from little vintage shops. I didn't like it. It just didn't make sense. It was hard to find anything that matched correctly. I love the wicker. The wicker and the shelves, perfect. Perfect for this build. And then I cluttered them up with some very travel, cabin-y decor. I also just decided on the one end table because at the end of the day, it's a rental. You don't really need two. These mushrooms, perfect. They could have been forged there. I was looking for the sunscreen. I try always like sunscreen, sunblock, lotion. And ultimately I was just like, couldn't find it. And then I just also didn't know, like, did it make sense to have the sun? And then I always find these little soaps randomly when I'm in a room and I'm like, oh my goodness, put it in the kitchen. So then I'll like pause building and I'll have to go through it in the kitchen. So here I am just trying to find some clutter that makes sense. I really like the color of these books. I think they pulled that together quite well. It made sense. There was the Scout's Guide in the children's room. The mushrooms. The mushrooms of the teapot tied in the forged mushrooms in the casing. I really like how that tied together. And then here we are, the sunblock. That isn't called sunblock. Raise anti something. I didn't see the name. Sometimes I think it would be so simple with their named and I'll type it in and I'm like, it's definitely going to come up under this. And then it's something crazy. Or I'll see something where it's like hanging hat and then you go to click on it and it's a rug or a toilet. That's a little crazy for me. It just doesn't make sense, but wouldn't wouldn't be The Sims without it, and I love The Sims. So I've also been doing this thing where I layer rugs to make them look bigger. I have not figured out how to use a tool mod, nor do I think I want to, because it seems like a really big hassle. And so I do size up and size down my objects, but sometimes when you size it up, it's just way too big. So I'm trying to get into other simple ways of making objects appear bigger, and one of them is side-by-side rugs, and it's worked out really well. So that'd be perfect for the bathroom in this to be a, very like old style bathroom. You can't really find a nice old style walk-in shower. This worked the best, but I really wanted that like claw tub, cozy bathroom feel. And some of these showers were just way too crazy fancy. What I really wanted to do was try to bring in that stone feel into the shower, but it just wasn't coming across natural. It was coming across high-end, and I didn't want it to be high-end. So I'm just trying to find the simplest stand-up shower that I can. Very simple furniture in here, just because I want the bathroom to seem like a cabin bathroom. Nothing fancy, but warm, welcoming, We really need more bath mats in The Sims 4. And sometimes I'll use the other mats, but they make puddles. But recently I've been noticing too, when I'm using the bath mats, I'm still getting a lot of puddles. But what can you do? So I'm just making this a very simple, minimalist bathroom. I want it to feel very cozy, cabin, but with limited features. I want it to be the very basic, bare minimum of a bathroom, because I feel like that's what cabins have. So I'm just trying to decorate the lot with more autumnal fall decor to really pull in the style of this vacation rental. I'm finding ways to decorate it so that it feels like you're here during the fall having a cozy getaway. I really like the sunflowers, but they weren't just working with the leaves. So I moved it over into the dining room, adding that fall garland on the island because that made a huge difference in the kitchen. So I like this wreath, however, because it's so symmetrical, when I put two on the door, it just didn't look right. I end up moving it over, and I actually end up getting another wreath that is the same without having a piece on it that makes it look weird when there's two side by side. And I'm putting a lot of pumpkins in, different gourds. Is it only me, but I find it's very hard to find things in The Sims when you search things by their name. Like, you'll think that you're making it very obvious, but things won't come up. You'll see I try searching gourd and it ends up coming up with a vase. I was very taken back. So I'm just adding around the lot, lots of fall features, fall decor, getting that cozy harvest feeling on the lot. I haven't experimented with debug whatsoever. Before I uploaded the pictures, I ended up changing the season to fall and taking the picture. It helped. I found this leaf garland that really pulled it together, and I thought string lights would be a really good choice to pair with the garland. It made the cabin cozier. And then I figured too, with the string lights, I could add them to the front deck. Imagine sitting out there, crisp, cool evening, fall evening, and you're having a fire, and you have the warm yellow porch lights turned on, twinkle lights. So that worked perfect. I loved having that piece on the deck. Really made it warm and cozy and cuddly. Ended up adding some more to the back of the house as well for the back deck. I couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to place them, but I ended up just kind of finding something that worked. And then I found this wreath. This is the wreath I was talking about, how it's symmetrical enough that it looks okay when I double it up, and it didn't have any pieces to one side that made it look weird when it doubled up. I thought that was a nice touch, and it brought in that burnt orange color. This fall mat was the perfect addition to the exterior, and then that other wreath was a nice touch for the interior, because a lot of the fall decor had to kind of happen outside. I love the hay bales. The scarecrow reminded me of the hay bales, and so I was like, I have to put the hay bales in, put some pumpkins on there. I've been experimenting more with porch decor in The Sims. I actually want to do it as well in real life. I didn't get to do it this year, but I think it's something I'd like to try next year. So see, this is where I'm like, oh, a gourd, great. No, it's a vase. And I liked the pumpkin, but I didn't really love the faces on it. The pumpkin trio is just like perfect. It's aesthetically pleasing pumpkins. And then of course I add some more candles. It's not fire safe, but thankfully we don't have to worry about that in The Sims because it looked absolutely gorgeous when I put it on. I'm just raising these items with the 9 key to place them on top of the hay bales. It looks so pretty. I was fiddling around with these candles because to me they kept looking like they were floating. So I ended up just leaving them a little bit clipping into the item. Some items actually don't look too bad when they clip because it kind of looks like they're built in. And I thought these candles looked fine. Again, very not fire safe, but it looks amazing. I'm just trying to find some more holiday decor. There's those leaves again. I was looking if there were other swatches in them, like a yellow. There wasn't, so I kept with the orange and it really pulled it together with that color. The color helped a lot. And then adding a cornucopia because, of course, it's fall. So just adding that decor in there, and the porch is really starting to come together. I'm really happy with how this looks. And again, those burnt oranges, reds, yellows, deep greens. I want you to know that you're at a fall getaway when you come to this rental. And then I put in the decor boxes. If you click on those in gameplay, you can decorate the houses and the fences and stuff like that. Which I thought would be nice in gameplay to add a little bit more fall festive harvest decor. So again, I'm just taking those pumpkin trios and adding it around the lot. I'm covering up this foundation here because remember earlier I couldn't figure out how to change the foundation. So why not just clutter it up with some nice fall decor and pretend that didn't exist. And then using those same objects and just spinning them a little bit is what creates that multi-layer aesthetic. It gives your builds a lot of structure and oomph when you're building. I find it just changes everything. I thought the pumpkins under the tree would have been really nice as like a muse for the painter. But because there's pieces that are very similar throughout the lot, it just adds more to the lot. Looks more realistic, looks more lived in. Not as bare, and it gives off the vibe that we want it to. So I really wanted to still kind of fill those spaces and make it look really intentional with the fall decor. I was trying to find some fall flowers. It just didn't really make sense to me to have any blooming flowers because it's fall and the flowers would kind of be dying. So I settled on these sunflowers. I thought they were the perfect touch. Sunflowers are very harvest, and it filled in those gaps that needed to be filled. It also, they can be artificial sunflowers. So that worked out really well. And it gave it a nice touch. It gave it dimension. And that's kind of what these decor pieces and landscaping add to your build. It adds a lot of dimension. So this was perfect. The hot cocoa tray. Of course I needed a hot cocoa tray in a cozy fall cabin retreat. So I'm just placing the cocoa tray outside in that little sitting area in the back. This was just so nice. This was perfect. I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then that's the build. So I'm just exploring into free camera right now. And then I realized you have to jump into live mode to get the full free camera. And then we'll be doing our walkthrough on my very first build of the seasons. I'm so excited. So here we are in walkthrough. I actually made a fall couple to go with this, uploaded to the gallery. So we come in, we see this beautiful, warm, cozy, lit front deck. I love the spacing. The fire pit's a huge selling point. We have moments of relaxation, moments for creativity. And then you see this front here with the scarecrow. I was trying to get that tree because it was a huge selling point and it really pulled the lot together. You come around and we'll see it again. So I'm just exploring this free mode. I don't really use this free camera, so it's taking a bit of a learning curve to do walkthroughs with it. Again, this is my first time. I have a lot to learn. And then you come through the front doors here. I really wanted to be like you were entering the house and doing your own real walkthrough. And I've gotten some tips and tricks from like YouTubers I've seen. So here we have the kitchen. Again, just very polished, homey, cozy. Nice kitchen to do some cooking in for your fall getaway. That AC with the vent coming out. The greens pulling together. I love the chandelier. And then we walk through and we have, to the left we have our extra bedroom, our child's room. I think it pulled together really nicely. It looks like a rental, and it still has fun activities to do for the children for when you're on your getaway. And then we're just coming on back out. And here's the living room, offering very cozy vibes. And then again, offering those activities to boost your creativity. The decor was very intentional, warm and cozy. Here we have the primary. I like the decor. I like that it's simple and it looks put together for a rental. You don't want too many things in there. You want it to be quite simple and intentional. I love the bedspread. The bedspread was a great piece. And then we come into our bathroom, which, as we know, is very minimalist, while still being cozy and homey. And then we come back out again into the living room. And then here is the door for the back entrance. So we come on outside. We have our sitting area over there. We have the children's activities and the outdoor dining area. Lots of activities for the whole family to do. And then I also set it to night so we could really get that warm, cozy feeling this getaway would provide. So yeah, as you can see, this is the backyard that offers a lot of the activities and where a lot of the living will happen in this rental. And as you can see over here, we're in Newcrest, and I just picture it being backed onto like a forest. But the lot that we're seeing right now that's empty, that is the summer rental that I've finished filming and working on. And so they're going to be lined up in Newcrest. And then here we just have the bikes, a little sneak peek at the fall couple I made. Just kind of giving that final tour around the exterior. I can't get over the fireplace area. I think that's beautiful. I think that would be a huge selling point for this rental. And then here's the couple, very autumnal. Their clothing, their interests, their names. I really enjoyed making them for this lot, and I'm so excited. I hope that you guys liked it. It's a little bit scary, but also really exciting that I get to do my first kind of challenge. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to the more incredible things that we get to explore together. So thank you so much. Bye.